November 10th, 2023. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. We have a very fun show, the best show, the greatest show you can ever get. We're just gonna load off, Jeremy. We're gonna get rid of everything.
We're often a bunch of loads here today, Joel. That's what's in the headline. That's what's in my headline. We're offing loads. Everybody come off your loads with us.
That's right. I thought you would enjoy that. I was in a good mood last night after Impact, and I was setting up the stream, and I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna make like often loads jokes and like cashing in and cashing out, and it was just perfect. Sometimes the internet and the wrestling world just work synonymously, and I love it. It's good. How are you doing, Jeremy?
And Joel, off your load. Andrew Zarian, the great Andrew Zarian's in the chat. Off your load, Joel. Everybody just off your loads this morning. It's Friday. It's a great day to offloads. The weekend, great time to offloads.
Oh, get all your loads off in the weekend.
Drop your loads everywhere, everybody.
I'm here to drop loads. And while you're here, you can also drop a thumbs up on the video. And of course, subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked on youtube.com/Fightful Overbooked. I forgot to set up the local recording so that we get a better, cleaner signal for our audio today. But oh well, that'll happen. That's fine.
Wow.
Andrew Zarian, your direct messages have a load for you to off. So go and do that. Okay. And you can donate a super chat if you want to off your financial loads on us. Any amount will get your question statement read on the air. And of course, it supports us here at Fightful Overbooked. If you want to donate, I don't know, 8.4 million shares worth of money, then we'll take that. The shares are like 700 million-ish.
Yeah, we need to buy stock in TKO so we have some voting power, Joel.
Oh, could you imagine? And then we could do the calls, the quarterly calls.
And that thing was boring. When was the call? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah, I already forgotten about it. So like I've been covering these calls for a very long time. This is the first TKO call. I thought that, we're going to get maybe some fun little notes here because it's the first TKO call. They're going to talk about the deal. They're going to talk about UFC. They're going to talk about WWE. Very paint by numbers stuff. Like the all I got out of it was multiple suitors for Raw, which they've been saying for months, and Vince is open to more ads and stuff, which Nick Khan had previously said as well. When Nick Khan's calling the shots, not Vince McMahon at this point. I said that's what it seems like. So that's all it was. There was nothing there. And I was like, man, Ari and these guys, they just got it down. They've been doing this for a while. They understand what the deal is here. Bless them. Like, I miss the days of like cranky, barely audible Vince being like, so I'll just give AEW more of our talent. And that's what we got to do. Blood and guts, like our competitors. Like, that was the good shit. Oh, sorry. Less than 5 minutes.
3.5 minutes. Damn it. So
you can't throw Vince stuff at me. That was the good stuff though. Barely audible Vince being like, yeah, we'll just give AEW more talent. That ruled. That's what we need back. We need barely audible Vince back on these calls. He's not going to be doing anything. Not going to be doing anything. It doesn't seem like.
Going back to the ads, by the way, like you said, that's not news. Like, it's nothing new. And also, they're kind of already doing that. They're not putting the ads directly on the ring mats, but like they're all over the electronic ring skirts. And like you look around those LED boards around ringside, like those are all just plastered with whatever the match sponsor is. Like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, watch your father beat your ass at WrestleMania.
Yeah, they're all over the LED boards on the ring side and everything. And then they got the one LED board that's not the apron as well. So they have it there. It's really just like mat space. And I'm talking in ring, and look, they're going to end up putting that stuff on like mats outside of the ring post and everything, which I know the LED actually kind of takes care of part of that. Anywhere they can, they're gonna end up putting sponsorships on this stuff. That's it. UFC's done that. Like UFC, legitimately, these fighters used to have like these big banners,
flags.
Yeah. Well, it's flags now because that's all you can use. But it used to be banners with like 10 different sponsors on them. But then the UFC was like, no, like basically they just cut out individual fighter sponsorship, and that's why they can't do it anymore. But it's like, no, you can't do it. You can't cover up the logo sponsor there. We're going to have a sponsor here that you can't cover up. This sponsor might conflict with one of our sponsors, so you can't do that. So they just removed all of these fighter banners with all their sponsors. and again, they basically just cut out individual sponsorships for fighters. And yeah, you can only put a flag up, thumbs up. You can only do a flag right now. That's it. Like you can't put anything else.
Louis asking if he could buy ad space on a wrestler, Pepsi logo on Jack Perry. I mean, you can sponsor wrestlers on the indies, so if you really wanted, you could do something like that. Just not with Jack Perry. You get the Iron Savages. And you can sponsor the Savage Sauce.
Oh, I don't know. I gotta get my man Bronson on the show. Dirty Bulk Bronson, he rules. He's
all over there. He's all over the internet. He'll come and join us.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't contract situation. You know, Jameson just jumped on at one time because he wasn't under any type of like deal. But you know, I don't know what the contract sitch is there. I don't think I can. I don't know him that well to just like cold DM him like I do some people.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Oh, he rules. I just get so many just like pop headlines out of there. No actual news, but you know, great headlines about eating ass and Titty City. Oh, so good.
Hey, so good. Speaking of eating ass and popping headlines, look who's here.
Wait.
I love how poorly we plan these things.
Did I hear Titty City?
Yeah, Titty City. He shoved the man's face into his partner's tits. It was fantastic.
Do you know what I figured out? In my hacking of your stream, I tend to just ruin Jeremy's internet every time I call in.
Yeah, it's actually impressive.
Zarian zone.
I actually do think it may be me.
Oh, that's a good theory. That's a very good conspiracy theory.
It's funny because, like, yeah, Jeremy's internet was great all week, and then Andrew shows up, and it's just he's offloading Jeremy's internet bandwidth.
It's my diseased Fios.
My God, I thought it was Kate this entire time. Turns out it's Andrew Zarian.
Well, you know what though? Kate is from Jersey, and I would never pat. You know, they're up to no good over there.
Get it? So
they always are up to no good.
So what are you up to? I haven't seen you. You don't call. You do text. No. You don't call.
Busy season. Oh. Wrestling takes a back seat from September to like Royal Rumble for me.
Forget it. You want to come to Vegas with me in January?
For what are you going to? For what, TNA?
TNA.
You know, no, thank you.
Wow.
You were so close to being like, and then immediately you're like, nah.
I like Vegas. I don't love Vegas.
I hear you.
And it's such a stressful trip every time I make it out there. It's like total chaos. And the last like 4 times I've gone to Vegas, there's been a calamity in my life. So I just stopped going to Vegas.
I get it. I'm just trying to find a cheap hotel room, man. And I got a couple locked, I got a couple ready, but I just got to pull the trigger.
How cheap are you talking?
Like $100.
Ugh, yuck.
I don't know.
This is like the Orleans. Like it's nothing awful, but yeah, or Tahiti. That was the other one.
I don't feel like it's good to get like a hotel under $100 in Vegas. I feel like that,
I did it for SummerSlam. I did it and I stayed at the Embassy Suites, which was like just where the Sphere was going up.
I would die.
I don't because I don't spend a lot of time in my hotel room. I'm doing shit all day. I just need a bed that's clean. A fridge is nice, but Vegas got rid of all the fridges depending where you stay. And yeah, I'm pretty simple. Listen, I've stayed in much worse. Montreal for Elimination Chamber. Tim and I stayed in a hell of a weird place. But you just
I'm bougie. I'm a little bougie.
Listen, you get me a deal and I'll go bougie with you.
You know where? You know what's a really good hotel? The Virgin in Vegas. And I think it was like $197 and it was a beautiful hotel.
The prices are low on it right now, and I could go. And that particular weekend the TNA picked is like the perfect Vegas weekend because everything's passed. Like New Year's Eve is done. This is like their lowest of the low period. So like it's good time to look, but I got to also find a place that's close to the Palms because that's just off strip and everything is like, go on the strip or like a 50-minute walk from there. So I'm just trying to be as like courteous to the venue as I can.
Over the weekend, I stayed at a glorious Sheraton in Edison, New Jersey, when I was at the Exotica event. That was my weekend.
Okay, let's talk about this Exotica event. Who cares about the rest of this nonsense?
Fair.
But give us some scoops from the Exotica, Andrew Zarian.
It's something. It's something. I saw a lot of Joel fans, a lot of Jeremy fans, a lot of
I believe it.
Andrew Zarian fans were there. They were coming
that.
up. They were talking to me about Fightful and scoops at a bizarre porno convention.
No, this all checks out. This all makes sense.
We're big in the porn community.
The people watching is the attraction there. That's the main event. The people watching, not the people that are there like exhibitors. It's the attendees.
Yeah,
those are the ones.
Yeah, I can envision that. That would be an adventure to watch. How
some of these people are not from this planet. They came from another galaxy.
I want to post up there for like an hour, just an hour, and like just count the amount of
an hour is not long enough. I was there 10 hours a day.
I know you were, but I'm saying like I just want to count the sweatpants so I can be like in 1 hour I saw 50,000 pairs of sweatpants walk by. Different people.
A lot of people were very nice and normal, and then you had the X-Men that came from the sewers.
Amazing.
The Morlocks had risen.
I want to go to this and like actually do like interviews and get wrestling content.
It's actually a lot of fun. My wife went. I'm involved with them in a capacity. So every year, I'll go by and I get a hotel. And you know what? I got to tell you, it was like $120 a night hotel. Great room.
Okay.
Fantastic. If you're ever in need of a hotel in a very industrial area in New Jersey, I recommend the Sheraton in Edison.
If you're ever in New Jersey, re-question your life.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. No, I had a very long week. And yesterday I went to the Rangers game.
Did they win?
Yes, they did. 4-1.
They're playing really well right now.
They're playing great.
Really well. Yeah.
Listen,
injuries, they're still playing well.
That building has to make money because the Sphere ain't.
Yeah, and they want to move that building for some nonsense fakakta reason. I don't understand. It's absurd to me that they want to move the Garden.
But they isn't just like across the street again or some stuff. It's been moved 3 times before.
I think this is like the 4th one, but you're at Penn Station. You want to be eco-friendly, right? You want to be environmentally conscious. You're at the hub for all travel. For the tri-state, why would you want to move it?
Hold on, you went to the Rangers yesterday?
Yesterday, yes.
Okay, why didn't you go to Hollywood Fights and hang out with Nick Khan, Dana White, and Triple H?
I couldn't hear you.
Why didn't you go to Hollywood Fights and hang out with Nick Khan, Triple H, and
I did. I wasn't invited this time.
Wow.
TKO comes to town and
that's what happens. On the good list. It's a TKO problem. When it was WWE, I got all these invites, and now all of a sudden I'm not good for those Endeavor boys.
Well, they saw that you're pally pals with Mike Johnson now, and they're like, we don't need that, so we're just gonna.
I think that's what it is.
I think
that's what it is.
Yeah, that's right. I get it, man. I get it.
Somebody did come over to me and start accosting me about Dave Meltzer the other day, randomly.
Wait, at the Exotica show?
No. It would have made more sense at Exotica. This was randomly. I was at a restaurant. I'm sitting at a bar. We're talking about wrestling, and he's like, "Oh, I know you." He's like, "So you work for that Dave Meltzer?" And I'm like, "I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who you're talking about." And they're like, "Yeah, Wrestling Observer." I'm like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about."
You got to just put the hood up and keep walking, and don't even. I know you were sitting in this case, but you're just like, nope, not here.
I got to tell you, like, I'm wired really weird. Like, listen, I think I'm a good person. I'm nice to everybody, but there are moments I'm contemplating. I'm like, am I going to have to fight this guy now? Like, is it going to turn into that? Like, am I, And sometimes I'm a little short fused. And I'm like, I'm going to get into a fight with this lunatic screaming at me about Dave Meltzer, and I'm going to have to defend his honor now.
It's the New Yorker in you.
It comes out really fast. It's unbelievable.
Dave Meltzer.
That Dave Meltzer.
Meltzer. It's David Belzer's cousin.
You know where it was? I'll tell you exactly where it was. It was right in front of this bar on 38th and 7th called the Westbury.
Have I been there? with you.
Big Meltzer fans at the
No,
West
we
Bay.
went to. I think we went to at the West Bay. I think we went to Blackguards. I think we went to like a dive that's right next door, actually.
A dive. Where we went wasn't exactly a dive, pal.
Where did we go?
I don't remember, but it was fairly nice. You, me, and Jim.
You, me, and Jim.
Yeah, you remember Jim. Jimanica?
Jim? Who? Oh, yes.
Riveting.
I got very confused for a second. No, I think we went to Stout.
Oh, okay, sure. I'll look it up later and remind myself. I haven't been to New York in a little while now, so I should probably get back eventually.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That gym.
Both that gym and that gym.
That gym.
It all works. Not Jim Jordan though.
Jim Johnson.
Jim Johnson. It is. That's the guy. He's the guy.
Mike Johnson's brother.
You think he ever gets that? I feel whatever. It's not even a thing. Did anyone else, by the way, get really confused when Mike Johnson was the Speaker of the House, and all of a sudden wrestling fans were just like, "Wait, who? PWI?"
I have a friend, and his last name is Nunez, and everybody would tweet at him because his name is like Nunez, just like Nunes, and they thought it was a politician, and he would get all these like hate messages on Twitter constantly. And he was just like he worked at a radio station or a TV station.
That's how it goes, though.
That's Nunez sending you a message right now.
It is. I heard what you're saying.
I can't wait till there's another Zarian out there that's heinous, and I start getting that. But they start getting it, and they think it's me.
The best is the John Jones, the white like gamer who gets all the John Jones hate from the UFC fighter. It's the best. That dude rules too. Fantastic.
He learned how to swerve into that very early.
Oh, he did.
Good on him. He's great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He's been dealing with that shit for like over a decade now too.
Yes, easily over a decade. Oh my God, Zarian, you got any scoops for us before you go on with your thing?
Do I have any scoops for you guys? Let's see. What did I post the other day that triggered like half of Twitter?
You ended up texting me about the World's End collision thing.
Yeah, and I go, these fucking people. Oh, can I curse? I'm sorry.
No, it was 17 and a half minutes in. You're good.
All right.
Yeah, I was cursing 3 minutes in.
Okay, sorry. I tried not to. I was like, these fucking people are deranged. I'm like, why are you so upset? What happened was it turned into like I posted that and everybody's like, oh, that's it. The show's canceled. And I was like, no. WBD is pretty committed to it. And then somebody, I think you know what it was. I forgot the account. Somebody had posted that WBD is interested in WWE.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think that's happening. You know, like I made like a comment and I go nonsense or something. And maybe it wasn't that. I forgot what it was. But it triggered all these people to like, how do you know? You're just making it up. I'm like, I don't, you think I want to argue with people? You think I want to sit there and make stuff up and argue with people on the internet for nothing?
Maybe you got nothing better to do.
Maybe I got nothing better to do. And I'm like, all I did was post that it's not airing the week of World's End. That's it.
I think people just love to just compact everything into one news item. They see the ratings for Collision were down this week, so they think that it's doom and gloom. And then you report that a Collision in a month and a half is not happening because of a scheduling conflict, and people just assume that no, point A to point B is actually going to go point Z instead.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it was? It was a post saying that they're hearing that WBD is in talks to bring Raw to TNT or TBS.
Right.
That story.
Oh, that one.
And listen, I will say there would have to be such a devastating moment in the relationship of WBD and AEW for that to happen. For many reasons. Joel knows. I've spoken to Joel about this. I think I've spoken to Jeremy about this.
I don't know.
It'd have to be devastating. Maybe I did. I think I did. I think I told you.
They'd have to hire Ric Flair to a wait a minute.
Yeah. They have to. That would have to happen. No, I mean, listen, and also, who cares, right? Like, if you, like, I cover this for fun. We talk about this all the time. We cover this because it's fun and we enjoy it. But if you're the viewer, if you're the fan, why does it matter?
They're not fans. That's the thing.
Not. No, it's hate watching, and that's a whole separate subgenre. There are people that despise something, and they will constantly talk about it and talk about how they despise it. I can't even rationally justify that thought process.
We talked about this on Wednesday when there was rumors about when NXT is going to run their stand and deliver show. And then it turned out they're not even going to run it on the Thursday that was being rumored. It's going to be Saturday. But the point was, we were talking about WrestleMania week and how people kind of burn themselves out just to go see every single show that they can. And then as a result, like we get into these situations where people are like, I got to watch MLW, I got to watch NWA, I got to watch Raw, I got to watch SmackDown, I got to watch Dynamite, I got to watch Collision. And they just burn themselves out on wrestling instead of picking and choosing and being okay with it. And this is kind of, it's the catalyst to that is just pick it and enjoy it.
I listen, it's like the TNA hate, right? You love TNA.
I mean,
you are a TNA.
Yes, I am. It's been, I've had my on and off stints with Impact and TNA.
You're an Impact and you're a TNA, and that's fine. And you're also a Fightful, and that's great.
Ugh, the worst.
The worst. I love Fightful. I have to tell you, I'm sneaking in slowly. I'm breaking my contract with the Wrestling Observer. I'm in void of my deal with them, and I'm slowly sneaking in, little by little.
You're not supposed to say that part out loud, Zarian.
But if you say it out loud, then it's not a big deal because you say it like a wink and a smile. You know, you do one of them like, I'm just sneaking in, guys. How do you get mad at this face?
Fair, honestly, very fair.
You know, I one time I got to run, but I effed up so bad on a deal that I was finishing. It was my deal. I had to do this thing. It was for a company that had hired me. And I just effed up. I don't know how I did it. I thought I sent an agreement, whatever. And the deal fell apart. Okay. It was a big money deal. And I'm like, they're like scolding me. You know, the old man that owns that company is yelling at me. And I look, and he's like, are you going to say anything? I'm like, listen, I effed up, but can you get mad at this face?
What was the response to that?
He laughed.
No, that's the adult equivalent of you saying, "Ain't I a stinker?
Ain't I a stinker?"
Hey, is Rich going to be on the show with you live in studio, or is
Rich is not live in studio? Because can I show you the disaster here?
Oh, that's right. We saw this last time. The TV all over the place. Yeah,
I have to. I still have to. I'm clearing out the whole studio, so I have to redo this whole thing, and it's just a nightmare.
Tell Rich I give him kisses from afar.
He loves your kisses.
I love giving them to him. He's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So are you. You're okay too.
Thank you. I miss Rich. They're waiting for me. I gotta go.
Get out of here.
Bye, Zarian. Thank you.
Toodles.
See ya. Toodles, he says.
I'm gonna have Kyler clip that and then make it a separate post, and then Jensen's gonna message me. See you guys, Zarian, on the show again. We took a month to get Zarian for one time. Here you are, getting him 2 weeks in a row. It's so mad anytime Zarian comes on the show.
It's just maddening for everyone. It sucks. It sucks having friends, Jeremy.
Did you hear Jensen's complaint yesterday?
I listened to the show, or at least most of it so far. But what was it specifically?
Well, it's a 3-hour show because
yeah,
like 3.5 hours.
There was something he said at like the top of the show about WWE that it was like.
I wasn't that. It was during.
It was something else that was even funnier.
But it was during. He had a couple. Jensen has great line. When I mentioned somebody winning, and he's like, "No, don't like that." And it's just very like deadpan. It's fantastic. I think it was an LA Knight thing. I'm sure it was LA Knight. Yeah, well, I saw too much friendship. Jensen's like, "There's too much friendship in AEW." The Bucks are like, "Why are you friends with this guy?" And Omega's like, "Why are you friends with this guy?" And Jensen's like, "Do people do this?" Like, Jeremy, do you sit around and like talk to Joel? Like, why are you doing this show with Jensen? Like, I don't tell you, Jeremy, of like, why are you doing? Oh, so you're doing 3 shows a week with Joel? Like, what does that mean? Oh, so you always have SB3 on when I'm not around? What does that mean? Like, people do this? Like, we're 30 years old. Why are we talking about the type of friends people have with each other? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. At least not this much. But it's pro wrestling. It's a high school drama. That's all it is.
I've learned from the get-go that the best way to make friends is to pay them to come on your podcast.
Oh my gosh. He had a rant about that too. He had a rant about people paying to be. So Jensen mentions this yesterday, And he was like, people paying to be on podcasts, and he really wanted to tell who would try to charge us $200 to come on our podcast. I legitimately didn't remember, and then he reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. I didn't know anything about it. Jensen's talking about this like this is like national news or whatever. And I didn't, me, Joe. I stay offline. I didn't know the CM Punk bit that you tried to do on Wednesday. I'm very
turned into like the best 7.5 minutes we've ever done on this show.
I feel like I turned it back around because I didn't listen back, but the wife was like, you came off very angry. Like, are you okay? You sounded very angry. And I'm like, I know I sounded angry. So I tried to like save it. So anyway, I'm very offline outside of like work related stuff. So I didn't see any of this. And finally yesterday it hit my radar. And these are tweets from like November 4th that people were talking about, like, oh, charging to be on a podcast and stuff. And I'm like, I know it's a thing, by the way. Like, fortunately, no one has ever charged us anything. And if they did, I would probably be like, no, thank you. Like, that's okay. We're good.
We also, like, sorry to derail you. Like, we come with a platform beyond this show. Yeah. Right. So I think if you're a smart wrestler and you want to get your story promotion yourself out there, like, that showing up here isn't just showing up here, because our views are not main channel views, but our reach in terms of the articles and just the word of mouth that comes from it is larger than most. So I think most people have come to understand that.
Yeah. So we are very, blessed, #blessed, to be like on a big platform. And so, yeah, I don't think people would charge, but if they did, again, I'd tell them, no, thank you. Like, that's okay. We did have one person. This is Jensen and I. We asked them to come on, and they're like, yes, no problem. Like, hey, would you mind making a donation to this charity? Like, for this. And we did that. Like, I got no issue with that. And then they'd actually been on another show and didn't ask for any type of donation. But if we want to donate to charity, no issue with that at all. Yeah, apparently someone did ask like for $200, and I'd completely blanked that out. I had I'll say his name because I don't think it really matters at this point. And this was years ago. This was 2019. I tried to this is at WrestleCade. Tried to interview Raven, and Raven's manager tried to charge me, or whoever was like with him tried to charge me. I was like, no, I'm good. No, thank you. And even like Raven just like looked at him and was just like, oh, what do you want me to do? I was like, I don't know. Like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, this isn't, to me, like, it's not going to make or break like my career if I don't get this interview with you because you're charging me. Like, if you want to charge me $20, I'm just going to say no. It's okay. Like, this is not the end of the world to me. Like, I will survive without your interview that you're going to try to charge me for. Like, and I'm sure you're going to be just fine too. Like, but I saw this whole discussion yesterday that it's apparently like a week old at this point. And like, I saw the wrestler side of it of like, hey, we're dedicating an hour, 2 hours of time. So like, that's like, we wrestle and get paid for 8 to 20 minutes of work. We should get paid for an hour to 2 hours of our time. Like, if that's how you want to view it, like, fine. If you want to charge to be on podcasts, fine. That's your prerogative. I think if you're a podcaster, don't mention it. Like, just don't say anything about it. You don't need to call anybody out publicly. I realize that might sound funny after I just told this like Raven story, but like, that was from 5 years ago at this point, or 4. I'm terrible at math. Like, just don't mention that, because then you just open yourself up for a whole big thing. And it's really, really not worth it. It's not. Don't say anything. Just move on. And yeah, just get on with things. And again, if you're a wrestler and you think that like, oh, well, I'm giving you an hour of my time, like, you should pay me for it. Like, okay, that's your right to think that. It's also my right to like turn you down for the interview. But yeah, I don't want to pay that. And if you go on and you do another podcast, I don't know if they pay you. I don't know if you do it for free. It's your right to do other podcasts for free. That's fine too. To me, like, none of this is that big of a deal. But I see where people might get especially like these smaller platforms. Like, it helps to have a name on there to hopefully like boost yourself a little bit, but then just, go after people who aren't going to charge you, and don't call out people who apparently will charge you.
And also think of the number of times that you've covered a smaller podcast for the website. And like those people have gotten talent that have been featured on national television. That it's not to say that like every single wrestler is going to charge a new podcast money to appear. It's just that everybody has a different expectation for their time. And some want to be compensated. And I'm pretty sure that you're referring to Akira, who was talking about the talking about the time and everything and cost and all that. And I brought up his tweets, just to look at. And one of them, he says some podcasts have more reach than others. And so sometimes you can eat the cost of appearing in turn for being heard by a wider audience. 9 out of 10 times, this is not the case. I've been paid for all my recent showings as of late on podcasts. You're trying to be a business and make money, and so are we. One thing that I don't really love about that is that the business of podcasting is
you ain't
making shit unless you're monetized on various platforms.
And this is where I would say, like, look, I don't know I haven't listened to any recent Akira podcast. But I would say if you are paying to have Akira on, I don't know if you are making money, but I would just say that, like, don't pay if you're not making money, don't pay to have these people on, because you're probably going to lose money on that. And this is no offense to any independent wrestler, really any wrestler out there. Like, it could be a WWE person or whatever. Like, you get good views on certain stuff, but unless you are like legitimately getting like top guy, like, you're not getting a ton of views on these interviews. You're not. Like, you can see numbers on like our channel and stuff. Like, the stuff that does the best that gets cut is like Simon Miller, because people know him and he's like a content creator on YouTube. Like, he that cut interview has more views than maybe my Titus interview. So like, and that's on the main channel, mind you. Like, you're not going to make it back for a lot of these, for a lot of, especially the independent wrestlers. You're just not going to make that money back. So I would suggest not paying unless you were already a platform getting tons of views.
I was going to say it also helps that your views will bolster if you have proper aggregation for the people who are grabbing your interviews and writing about them on the websites that you write for. Our Santana interview was a pretty good example of that. When we asked him about Ortiz and the split, that got a lot of views because people linked back to that particular interview or to the episode in full where we had him on. So yeah, it's just about how you handle your podcast and how you handle the information that comes out of it.
Well, that's another thing is like, and I think this is where people, do our show, because one, they see Fightful, they know it's a big platform. Maybe they do or don't know that I write these articles off of them as well. And I'm actually behind on articles. I apologize to Aaron Mercer and Jock Sampson. I have articles coming, I promise you. But like, maybe they do or don't know you're getting these articles. Akira said he's done a bunch of podcasts and stuff. Like, people aggregate our stuff, especially if I write it up and everything. Like, I quickly wrote up those Santana comments on Ortiz. I know how the game works. I write up a lot of this stuff, and with a lot of the lesser talent, the lesser known talent, it doesn't like get picked up. And that's fine. Like, I'm not saying every website needs to aggregate every interview we do or anything. I understand that Road Dogg saying, didn't get CM Punk is going to do bigger numbers than a quote from, no offense to any of these people who are on our show, but it's going to do a bigger quote than something that Jock Sampson said. Jock Sampson saying Cole Carter is the future of wrestling. That's a good quote. That's a nice positive quote, right? It's not going to do numbers of Road Dogg saying, don't really get Orange Cassidy and CM Punk. Like, they're both opinions, but you look at the names and they are what they are. Like, so I get all that. I understand how the game works. But regardless, they still get quotes written up by me for a lot of these interviews. If Akira's done podcasts, done interviews, ain't nobody sent me no quotes. So you got to sometimes help yourself with that. Send quotes, send send me the link to the podcast. I just like throwing on stuff and listening to it while I'm working on other stuff. Like the less I got to search and find stuff, the better for me. So send me stuff. I've told these stories plenty of times, but I'll say it one more time. Like you guys wouldn't get like how many people, a lot of people, very few people, I should say, of like, oh, where you're taking their work and you're transcribing it and taking it as your own and trying to get credit for it. It's like, yeah, I do want credit for the transcription. It's a lot of damn work, but I don't want credit for their interview. I say, like, link back to their interview. You would be amazed at how many people reach out. That's how I've made a lot of friendships in this, or connections in this, of like just them messaging me and be like, thanks for covering my interview. Like, I didn't know anybody was listening to this. Now it's on Fightful. I'll name names. Mark Hoke. Mark Hoke was very appreciative when I covered the Tony Khan interview, and he's been on this show, and Joel and I have both been on his show as well. I actually think I'm on his Full Gear show. That's next week.
I should probably try and get on his show if I go to Vegas.
There you go. So Mark Hoke was somebody who reached out to me and was very appreciative. Adrian Hernandez, who's been on this show, someone who reaches out to me, very appreciative of. And the Battleground people, they always send me their interviews, and they do big time interviews too. Like, and so does Hoke and Adrian Hernandez. Like, I typically don't have to search for those anyway, because like I just know, but they always send me their stuff. I was like, yeah, I'll make sure we cover it. Like, I'd had no relationship with these guys prior to just finding their interviews, transcribing them, running articles. They reach out, they're appreciative, then they just start sending me stuff. So what are we talking about, Joel? Sorry to go on high horse.
No, we got plenty to talk about. Let's first of all, again, we got plenty of super chats we're gonna get to in just a second. We have a scheduled guest. We are waiting to 100% confirm it, but we'll put it out there because we were in talks, and if not, you can just bury him on the internet. Please don't. He's great. We're scheduled to be joined at 11 a.m. Eastern, so in about 25-ish minutes, by Joey Janella. So we had hinted that somebody big in the independent wrestling world is joining us. The plan is for Joey to join us ahead of his match against Toru Yano tonight at Lone Star Shootouts, the New Japan Pro Wrestling event. We're just waiting for him to, I assume, wake up because it's early.
Are you Joey like still in bed on his phone? Just
God bless, please.
Great.
Please. Our last interview, this is just to set the stage if Joey's available, if he makes it. Our last interview together was him making the Gaho face and him being like, what's that called? And me being like, oh, I'm not going to say it on the air. And so we had people in the YouTube comments had to fill it in for us. So the point is, Joey's wild, and he goes wild, especially when he chats with us.
I think I don't know. There's I think 2 lost interviews he did with Sean. One was like, remember when Joey would do the live streams during the pandemic and Sean like got on one of those? It was with Leroy. I can't remember his name, but
Nasty Leroy.
Yeah. I was trying to think of his gimmick name. Nasty
first
Leroy.
Name.
Yeah, first name.
First name Nasty, last name Leroy.
Yeah. Like Sean got on that. There was one where Joey did like an interview with Sean. It's like 3 a.m. He's like making eggs or something. I'm pretty sure that's a lost interview. There's another lost interview. This was All Out weekend, and it was after the show, and they're just like doing the interview like at the hotel, and like Luther pops in, Serpentico pops in. It's just so many people are just like popping in and out there in this interview. I don't think it ever aired though, because I think like the audio was bad. It's just Joey's a trip. I've interviewed him twice. One was at Full Gear 2019, and the other was before the JCW J Cup. So yeah, I don't think the Full Gear one, I think I ran quotes from it, but it was only audio. The JCW one somewhere on this website.
There you go. So go search them over on Fightful.com. So let's get to a couple super chats right now. Louis starts us off saying money to help pay for a Zac Efron appearance. He's been saying some nice things after the Iron Claw movie dropped. A lot of the actors are paying lip service to wrestling, which is nice to see.
Paying lip Gallagher service.
They're paying busting lip loads. Ryan Sullivan donated super chat saying I was busting to off my load to you guys. Don't do that. Don't do that, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Oh God. Please, more than $2 next time. Will Chisholm, here we go. Let's get into it. Will Vince McMahon make it to WrestleMania 40? Are you talking life expectancy or professional expectancy? Because those are two potentially different conversations. WrestleMania 40 is in 6 months. Vince McMahon dropped a lot of stock last night at
offloaded, Joel.
What did I say?
You said just dropped.
Sorry, you're right. He offloaded, he let loose, he dumped 8.4 million shares, about $700 million worth of stock. Now, this has happened. This is not unusual for anyone to dump stock for some cash, but this is a lot of money, Jeremy. This is a lot of money, and with everything that we've been talking about with Vince McMahon, with Ari Emanuel, with the comments about Vince McMahon, the risk reports, which, to be honest, those have been mentioned before, and those have been in past releases with WWE since the allegations against Vince McMahon started. When they started doing the opportunities for sale, that was part of the sales documentation, was we understand Vince is a liability.
When they did the big merger post in September, he was not under risk factor.
He wasn't, but he was after that.
Yeah, the most recent one.
The most recent one. But he's been noted as a risk factor in other documents, but not the merger itself.
Not when they did the big merger and stuff.
I stand corrected.
Because I looked that up because I was like, oh, is this new information? And it was new information.
Okay. So there's that. And then there was like a 1 a.m. press release. Vince's shares are now being offered for almost $80 a share. That's about what it was pre-market. These are from Brandon Thurston, by the way. TKO has agreed to repurchase from the underwriter approximately $100 million worth of share. And Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro each bought 12,531 shares. So they bought some shares. Other TKO directors bought some shares, but not nearly as much as Vince McMahon offloaded. So is this the beginning of the end for Vincent Kennedy McMahon's TKO experience? Is this his wild ride?
Well, I'm not the business person here. Listen to Brandon Thurston.
Jimmy, where is he?
What?
Where's Jimmy? Is he sleeping?
Yeah, Jimmy knows more about this stuff and understands this stuff a little bit better. Here's kind of my interpretation of things. And Jimmy Van said this in April. I rewatched that clip that he posted of like, watch the interview that Ari and Vince do with, I think it was like CNBC at the time, of like, Ari's just very agreeable. Yes, Vince is so great. And Vince is just like eating it up.
He can body slam me if we have any disagreements.
Yeah, Vince is just eating it up because Ari's just kissing his ass and everything. And so, and you could tell, or Jimmy surmised that like it seems just like a ploy. Like they got what they wanted, they did the deal, and now they're just gonna try to push Vince aside here because Vince is he's a narcissist. And he just heard what he wanted to hear. He's like, oh, this sounds great. He'd already lost majority when the sale went through because like he was on the board and everything, but he no longer had majority like he had with WWE. They had the little clause in there. And I did get this directly from Jimmy Van because I didn't know about it at the time. And again, Jimmy's much smarter about this stuff than me. When, they talked about, oh, Vince is allowed to sell without any like holding period, sell stock without any like, what does this mean type of thing. Jimmy told me basically like anytime you have like a big transaction like this, a big merger, usually there's a holding period where the stockholders have to hold on to their stock so they can't just like immediately sell and cash in if it goes up, or if it looks like it's going down, they can't just like immediately sell out type of thing. Like they got to hold on for 3 months, 6 months, whatever that freezing period is. Every other stockholder has this little holding period. Vince did not have this holding period, so he can do this. It's been less than 2 months since the merger, and he's can sell his stock, which typically, this is what Jimmy was telling me, typically that's not the case. There was that interview with Ari with Bloomberg where he mentioned Vince is like one of the reasons that the stock was down. And then, he was listed as a risk factor in the latest little SEC filing, which again was not there in September when they did their big SEC filing. Now he's selling some of the stock. He's going to be a rich man out of all of this. But My interpretation of it is he just kind of got bullied out. Like I think if they did the merger and the stock was good or went up, they wouldn't have listed Vince as anything. They would have been like, oh, look, everything's great. Things are going well. The stock went down. They had to find a reason for that. What's a good reason? Oh, this guy's getting a bunch of bad publicity because of these investigations and these allegations, and people are pointing the finger at him. So it's his fault, right? So what do we do about this? Well, he's not just going to leave quietly because he's Vince. So how do we get him out? Let's list him as a risk factor. Let's let's say he doesn't have to sell his stock. Let's get basically bully him out of here.
Let's make him the spokesman for every Saudi deal we make.
Yeah. Yeah, Dana White is like, oh, that's a Vince thing. Like Vince made this deal put together. Like, yeah, let's put the blame on him.
The moment I saw that article drop, the moment I saw those comments from Dana White, and I just said to myself, Ari Emanuel gave back $400 million to this Saudi regime in 2019 because he knew it was the right thing to do at the time, because this was when, the murder of Jamal Khashoggi was in the news prominently. At the time, WWE wasn't sure if they were going to go back to Saudi for an upcoming show. They ended up going. They just downplayed where they were, and they just downplayed the entire Saudi deal for the time being. That was kind of like a tale of two very different outcomes. But the point is, in 2019, Ari Emanuel gave that money back. And now here we are, 5 years later almost. And now they're saying Vince made the deal with Saudi to bring the UFC back to Saudi Arabia for a fight card. And I'm like, no, that's a backdoor play. That's just using him to make Vince look worse.
I think it's that, but I do think there is something to the Saudi deal, because one of the other things that Ari mentioned in that Bloomberg interview was that, like, oh yeah, the Saudis are buying into PFL, and so people are worried of like what kind of Saudi influence are they going to have in the fight game? Are they going to start paying a bunch of money to all these fighters? Is that going to hurt the UFC? So I think the Saudi deal worked kind of in two ways. One, to be like, hey, this is a Vince thing. Two, to be like, hey, see, the Saudi, we play nice with them. They're part of the UFC. They're not really a competitor against us. So I think it kind of worked in both ways with that.
So Chi-Town Spurs, who sent another super chat, I just want to get this comment first. Why has the stock gone down since he sold? It's not a slingshot effect. That's the reality of it too. It's that Vince did offload a lot, but he's not gone from the company. Could his departure potentially lead to an uptick in stock price? Yeah, it could. But really, the best thing that could happen is just some sort of proof that this merger is profitable. It's only been a couple of months at this point, right? The call that you and I,
September 12th was the official day.
There you go. So with that in mind, we talked about the earnings call, which was largely them just saying, yeah, so it's been a month, and here are some numbers that mean nothing compared to what we'll see in February when we'll have a quarter under our belt. This is new, and a new business is not profitable regardless of how long the two companies before performed. So I don't expect stocks to go rising anytime soon unless they make a huge money deal that's not Saudi related, and just everything becomes, this is the hottest ticket in town, you have to see it tomorrow. That's just where I'm at.
The Raw rights might bump something up depending on where they land, what they get, type of thing. I don't think that Vince, him being part of all this, was the reason that the stock was falling. I don't think it helped, mind you. Again, I think he was kind of scapegoated on all of this, and that's fine by me. I got no, he's not got no ties to him or anything. I don't care if he's going to get paid regardless. I think he was scapegoated a little bit because this thing that, like, while it was big in our world, it wasn't like the biggest news ever in the stock world. It was like, oh, okay, these two entertainment brands, one which was not publicly traded, UFC, like what are their dealings and stuff. UFC's got a big antitrust lawsuit, by the way, that's going on right now that I'm pretty sure ain't helping things with this, because it could expose a lot of things when it comes to fighter pay. So like, that's something to keep in mind. I don't think Vince was the full reason of why the stock was down when this merger came out. So him selling isn't just a slingshot effect, as Joel said. Him selling is just like, oh, okay, well, everything's gonna go up right now. So I don't know how the stock market works. You know, Chi-Town Spurs said SmackDown rights also made it go down. Like, yeah, maybe people, I know they got a rights increase, but they also went from Fox to USA. So they got a visibility decrease on that. That looked like a downgraded move, even though they got more money. I don't know quite how all this stuff works.
To me, when they announced that deal, that felt like hazard pay. It felt like the deal was lateral, and then they just said, add some money for hazard pay because we're going to be seen by fewer eyes every week, but make it feel like we are getting something out of this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't understand the stock market enough to know why these prices go up and these prices go down. I don't. I can comment on the Vince stuff and what's actually happening in my opinion on it, but as far as why the stock goes up and goes down, I can throw stuff out there. I don't truly know.
Dear Jim Cramer, please come. No, absolutely not. Will Chisholm sent a super chat saying, it just feels like Vince gave up his company so he can be the booker again, and now he's not in the weeds. Triple H is smiling on the inside. It wasn't about becoming the booker again. It was about owning the whole damn thing and having full control and power. That's what Vince wanted when he bumped his ass back in earlier this year. He wanted to be back in it. He wanted to own it. He wanted the power. And then he was told that if you sell to us, you'll have that power. He was told everything he wanted, and now it's looking like that's not the case. Triple H, how he feels, I don't know, and I'm not going to try and assess how he feels, but at the same time, you can
big old smile on his face taking a photo with Dana White last night.
That's fair. Photo ops, yeah, big smile. Being able to tell stories as he had intended. Yeah, you know what? There's a certain positive cohesiveness that comes with one guy running creative and having his team that he is in charge of, not, oh, let me ask my dad. It's so much better, in my opinion, to leave Vince out of it, get the guy who's there all the time in the weeds. This is the name of the show. Thank you. Oh, look at that big shit-eating grin. Look at that.
Look at those two men.
That's the look that says, I won. Anyway, the point of it being like Vince wanted his company back. Vince effectively took his company back, booted out a bunch of directors who wanted, this is when it was WWE owned by Vince, booted out directors, brought in ones that would support him, especially in a sale. And then here we are. Now Vince may have gotten played, but we don't know for sure. And then Will Chisholm sent another super chat saying, with Vince being out, I do think wrestlers will take a second look at WWE. Kyrie came back because she trusts the booking under Triple H. And also, there are a bunch of wrestlers who have been stockpiled and waiting to debut or re-debut. Authors of Pain have been reportedly under contract since the summer, and nothing's happened. Eric Young is the one guy where I'm like, man, you did the right thing, even after what happened with Vince and what's going on right now. Eric is now back in TNA where he would love to be. I'm sure that there's a contract with WWE that would, financially would be much larger, but it feels like Eric is just like, he's just happy to do what he's doing. Plus he does hockey podcasts and betting and all this shit. Like he's a busy dude. I like what Eric Young is doing, but I won't speak for him, but it feels like he's doing pretty well. But everyone else, yeah, there are people coming back to the company because maybe they see that Triple H really is the guy in charge and they can prove it now.
Yeah. Whatever makes for a good television product. That's truthfully all I care about. This stock stuff. I don't own WWE stock. I don't care if rich people get richer or if rich people get a little less richer. That's whatever. I care about the television product.
Me too. So we're gonna address the super chat from Chi-Town Spurs in about 5 minutes. Joey Janella might be joining us. We're gonna find out. So there's your cliffhanger for the next 5 minutes going into the crossover. Chi-Town Spurs says Vince's booking was far worse than Hunter's, but one big difference was that Vince made you feel like anything could happen at any time. Now it's a bit telegraphed and boring, but makes more sense. What are your thoughts, Jeremy? I'll start with you.
Did Vince's booking make you feel like anything could happen at any time?
Vince's booking in the 90s with Russo and Ferrara made you feel like things could happen at any time. Vince's booking leading up to people hating everything going on Raw and SmackDown made me feel like I could book Tamina in Survivor Series and get away with it because Tamina then joined the Survivor Series team and people got angry at me for it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was any anything could happen at any time. I mean, maybe kind of like you said it was, but like most of it was just a bunch of bad ideas that I had no interest in seeing. Now, maybe now it is a little bit more telegraphed, but sometimes, you got to give the people what they want. There you go. Zoom out.
Thank you.
Sometimes like that's fine. It's okay. I'd much rather boring and make sense, because I don't always find the stuff that makes sense boring. Like I was like, oh, you know what? That makes sense. That's cool. Good. I'm glad they did this type of thing. And anything can happen at any time, but if it's dumb, I mean, that pops me. So let's be honest. Like I laugh at the dumb.
There's something to be said about a Fox executive saying that wrestling fans are dumb and broke. That's me paraphrasing. And then there are wrestling fans on the internet who sometimes come up with some really great ideas, and sometimes they get used. The downside of that being when it gets used, someone's like, oh, I already saw that as coming. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. There's the idea that's out there about Damian Priest, the other big man potentially in the War Games match. Damian Priest cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase after the War Games match, or during the War Games match, or just around the War Games match. And I think that's a great idea. And it's something that, a lot of people, myself and Sean included, have said hasn't been done before. And it's fresh and it's different and it's new. But would people be entertained by it? I think the vast majority of people would be. That is something that you didn't see coming unless you're highly plugged in, reading everybody's think pieces at any time. You didn't really get that with Vince because people were so down on the product and trying to think of literally anything else that could work.
Yeah. I mean, the Vince stuff wasn't good for most of the time. Like, even if it wasn't, anything can happen. Like now things seem to be just a little bit more fleshed out. And I'm not saying everything's perfect now, but things certainly seem to be a little bit more fleshed out with things. And there's still some of the anything can kind of happen at any time deal. And maybe it's just, I think sometimes people look at that of like, well, the thing that I wanted to happen didn't happen. And so this shows that there's not anything can happen at any time. Like they're just kind of going by the numbers. And I don't think that's fully, that's where you just got to take sort of your own like expectation out of it.
What do we say? What's Jeff's thing? Expect, not it. What is it?
Nope.
What is it?
I know what it is.
I don't remember what it is. You just say it because I don't remember what it is. All right. Well, there you go.
Speculate, don't expect.
Speculate, don't expect. I ain't saying that. I don't remember what I did yesterday. And also Chi-Town Spurs is saying, it just feels like I don't have to tune in until after the Rumble because nothing will change. That's wrestling. That's well, at least, sorry, that's WWE and currently Impact Wrestling. There hasn't been this is the down period. This is when people are more focused on doing end of the year stuff. They're more focused on the holidays coming up. This is typical in wrestling. Like this isn't even WWE.
Is it though? Like we just mentioned the Priest cashing in at Survivor Series. Isn't that like a thing that can happen? Like I floated that idea yesterday on Spotlight of this happening. Like it feels like you might want to tune in to see if that happens. Maybe it doesn't, but that's possible that it happens. Like the rest of it, yeah, like you got to wait until the holiday period is the holiday period.
So, okay, I'll amend my statement. After War Games, after Survivor Series, that's when it's pretty much coast time. It's the end of we're post Thanksgiving. We're now running into the Christmas season, the holiday season. It's just kind of, you're just kind of there. It's the slammies. It's the best ofs. We're double taping so that we can give our talent, a week off for Christmas or do one show instead of 3. That's just kind of the way that the end of the year works. Your brain's not on wrestling. Sean says it every year that Fightful Select subs go down this time of year because people are focused on other things and wrestling news isn't very hot. It's hottest between January through April. And then there's a little bit going through the SummerSlam end of summer period where people start getting into it again. And it's ebbs and flows. That is the wrestling kind of mentality, at least televised wrestling.
They should bring back CM Punk on like a mid-December episode of Raw.
Could you imagine? Well, it's just like when they announced that Punk was going to take on The Undertaker at WrestleMania 29, the one in New York, they did it on an episode of Old School Raw, and it was just 4 names on the board. Who's going to face The Undertaker? And then it was CM Punk's name comes up, and it's like, okay, there it is. Easy as that.
CM Punk just showing up mid-December Raw in Poughkeepsie. Let's go.
That's right. Not even in Chicago. We're just going to have him in Poughkeepsie.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
Raw opens. Look at my eyes. What do you see? CM Punk in Poughkeepsie.
It was awful. It's JD McDonough coming out dressed as CM Punk.
That's boy.
CM Punk is really JD.
No, that's unbelievable.
I mentioned Impact for a sec. I do want to point this out. They announced last night, Final Resolution in December. They're going to be doing Motor City Machine Guns against Josh Alexander and Zack Sabre Jr. This is a fun one. I'm looking forward to that match. ZSJ is going to be facing Speedball Mike Bailey tonight for the New Japan World TV title. And then ZSJ is going to show up in Impact. And it's funny because he made a comment, did Zack Sabre Jr. It aired on Fightful.com on the 3rd of November saying, I want to be an Impact Wrestling ring. And I quote tweeted it. And I said, well, you got about 2 more months for that, buddy. So you can come around December 9th, or I said 11th. I was wrong at the time. Come and join us in Toronto. And then they made the announcement. In between that time, I will say this. I was tipped off that it was happening. Someone was like, well, don't hold your breath too long. You'll find out soon enough. And ZSJ is coming to Impact. So that's good news. I'm looking forward to that match.
Good on him. It is a fun match. Cool dream match. What's the story, brother?
There is no story. It's Impact for the next 2 months. I get to cover it and talk about it and be like, so nothing matters, but the matches are great. Alex Shelley and Jonathan Gresham had a great match that had story in the ring, had absolutely no bearings on anything going on leading up to the Hard to Kill. Go watch the match, though. It's really good. They uploaded it right away on the YouTube channel. That's how you know it's important.
There you go.
You want to talk about Dynamite?
We can talk about Dynamite.
Oh, by the way, Jeff Valley Driver, go to Turning Point. I will more than likely be there, and I'm trying to convince Kate.
Well, you wanted him to go, and then you said you're going to be there. Like
Final Resolution is the show, not Turning Point. Turning Point was the one that was happening.
You can't try to convince people and be like, I'm also going to be there. That's how you get people to not go.
Well, that's why I also said I'm trying to convince Kate to go. Kate is planning to go as well, or at least has talked about going. So if Kate's there and I'm there, Kate is the draw. We know this.
You can go there, Jeff, and you can punch Joel Pearl.
What did I do?
I will allow it.
Anyway, speaking of offloading, you want to talk about Mimosa Joe offloading?
People are mad about this. Are you mad about this, Joel?
Hold on, his Raven the Devil is actually no, for $200 he'll be the devil.
No, he didn't charge me that much. It was like 20.
Am I mad about it? I wouldn't say mad. I saw people who were very angry. I think in the moment I was kind of like, that's kind of a waste of a title reign. I understand both sides of it. So let's just set the table real quick. On Dynamite, Samoa Joe defeats Keith Lee, retains his Ring of Honor television championship, gets on the microphone and basically says, nothing left for me to do with this. I want that world title. Max, I'm coming after you. Lays it down in the ring. And now the TV title for Ring of Honor has been vacated. Okay. Could you have had Keith Lee win and carry the television championship and do the story with Shane Taylor? Yeah, sure, you could have. But also, if you want, it's so frustrating because it's like they booked themselves into this corner. That's kind of the big problem here, in my opinion, is that Samoa Joe is a dominant television champion, winning big matches, beating everyone. And he's like, I can't do any better. Like this is it. I've hit the top of the TV title reign. And he got rid of the belt. And he's like, I'm going after the AEW world title, not the Ring of Honor world title, the AEW world title. I get that. What I don't like about it is that the transfer of the title and the importance of beating Samoa Joe is now non-existent. You built the title reign and it ends with that. That I don't like. But again, I understand both sides as I've just outlined. Give me your thoughts.
If you want to hear my thoughts on Samoa Joe and the ROH television title, tune into Monday's episode of In the Weeds, where I will have my thoughts on Samoa Joe and the ROH TV title. My thoughts will be addressed on Monday's episode.
Will you have a huge announcement?
No, just my thoughts. I'll address the ROH title situation. I know it's in the headline for today that I would address it, but I would like everybody to know that I will address it on Monday.
So for those who don't pay the paywall price for Ring of Honor, Tony Khan was supposed to address the television title situation on last night's episode of Ring of Honor TV, and instead we were greeted with Tony Khan will address the TV title situation next week on Ring of Honor. No, on Dynamite. So
that's on Ring of Honor, isn't it?
I don't even know anymore.
I don't think he's addressing it on Dynamite.
They had one thing going and it just didn't work. I don't know why that happened. I thought that was kind of a stupid move. And it feels like it's just going to be a tournaments going into Final Battle. Right?
I would assume it's a tournament going into Final Battle. We love the tournaments. Hooray with the tournaments. I will actually, yes. They did, like, they had the big tweet after Joe dropped the title, like the ROH Twitters, like, tune into ROH tomorrow night to see what the fallout from this. And then even on the teaser, it was like, it'll be discussed. Like, they were saying, we're going to talk about it. We're going to address the situation. And they addressed it by saying they will address it next week. Rules, honestly, so fantastic. I talked about it a little bit yesterday of basically I'm kind of with you as I see both points. I think from a fan perspective, if you are upset about it, you have the right to be upset about it because you got invested in this title run. You got fully invested in it. It's like, oh, Joe beat this guy. Joe's had the longest reign ever. It's a historic reign, the longest TV title reign ever. They made a big deal out of it. They did a whole like 5-hour video on YouTube about it and stuff. And then it just ends with him laying down the title. Like, you know, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but imagine if Gunther just came out and laid down the Intercontinental title and it was like, beating everybody I can, peace. You know, I'm going after the World Heavyweight title now. I feel like people would be disappointed in that because you want to make somebody after something like that. So I understand fans being upset. Yeah, you got Jeff Bell versus Roman. Yeah. I was not even trying to go like the Roman because people would then be like, "Oh, you can't say that this title is equivalent to this title and this reign is equivalent." Gunther, ROH TV title, they're both secondary titles in their respective company. So I think the comparison works a little bit better there. And they're both longest reigns as well. So I understand why fans would be upset about that. I also think that the Joe stuff works of, hey, this title, I've done everything I can with it. I don't need it anymore. I'm going after the World Heavyweight title, going after the AEW title now. That's where my focus needs to be. And you don't want to beat Joe off of that because that doesn't look great of like Joe losing to, let's even say Keith Lee, because Keith Lee ain't been like the hottest thing in the world heading into that match. So it's like, oh, let's do Keith Lee beating him. And then, hey, here's Samoa Joe going after the world title because of this. Like, so I understand trying to protect Joe in that side.
Sorry, I was going to say there's a finish for those who are like, who could he have put over? They don't build anyone. There's a finish you could have done, which is the Kyrie and Shayna finish, or is it Kyrie? No, yeah, it was a Kyrie Shayna finish from the Mae Young Classic where Shayna's the world beater. She's got the Karafuda clutch on the smaller Kyrie, and Kyrie rolls up and gets that pin. You could have done that with Joe in the Coquina clutch and had like a shock finish. Joe's pissed. I think they did that with Punk, didn't they?
They do that finish so often. That is
Joe specifically though. Like after a while, it's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like Joe that was the only way he lost for a while.
Regardless, that's really the finish that would have made the most sense given the way Joe's been booked. You could have done a shock like Hook does it like that, or Dalton Castle. I don't know who it could have been. That's the other question. Is you had the opportunity to create this big meaty division multiple times over, whether it's TNT title or the Ring of Honor television title. You have this opportunity, but they haven't pulled the trigger, or they haven't figured out what they want it to look like with these belts.
As I said yesterday, my hope that this turns into ROH finding an identity as a brand, because Samoa Joe was not long for ROH. He just wasn't. He was on AEW all the time. He was in the storyline with MJF. He had the match against MJF. He lost. It was still in the storyline of like, hey, I'll watch your back type of thing. I just want this to mean that the ROH TV title remains part of ROH television. That's what I care about. I want the title to, it stays on ROH. That's what I said yesterday. That's what I've been saying for months on any show I've been on, is keep the ROH talent on ROH. Don't have it all cross over, because then you lose the plot when it comes to ROH. Like the Bucks were the 6-man champions for like 2 weeks. What did that accomplish in ROH terms? Nothing. They added nothing to ROH. MJF's the one half of the tag team champions. What does that happen? What does that mean for actual ROH TV? Nothing, because he's not actually on that show. He just remains on AEW, and he's defending the belt on AEW programming. But it doesn't bring any extra attention to ROH for doing that, because it's a third tier storyline for MJF. This MJF Guns match is MJF longest title reign was one of the stories. You got the Devil stuff. You got the Jay White stuff. You got the Samoa Joe stuff. Then maybe the ROH tag team titles. So it's a fourth tier story for MJF at that point. Like the Adam Cole, I guess that's part of the tag team title storyline, but that is a third tier story for MJF right now. So that hasn't added anything. Shibata, it kind of comes and goes as the peer champion. Eddie Kingston is sticking relatively well with ROH. I do like that. Athena praised plenty. She's been an ROH staple. I do like that. I hope whoever becomes a TV champion, I hope it stays as they just keep defending the title on ROH TV. If you want to throw a match on Battle of the Belts to try to get extra attention on ROH, cool. Hey, if you even want to do a little ROH centric story in AEW, cool. Don't have the ROH stuff bleed into the actual, don't have the ROH champion do AEW storylines.
Combine the 6-man tag titles from both companies, call them the World 6-man tag titles, have them defended on both Ring of Honor and AEW, or just on AEW. There are certain things that you can get rid of title wise and just refocus some of the efforts. And also, there was a time where you and I were talking about Final Battle and how they may load up the card with a bunch of AEW stars so that they can fill whatever arena they were going to be in. And now that seems fleeting. It's going to be nice. Eddie Kingston getting shine on potentially the or one of the main events at Final Battle. To me, it still feels like Athena Billy Stark should be the main event, should go on last, because it is the seminal Ring of Honor story that's been going on since the summer. But I don't know now with MJF versus the Guns and then MJF as a mystery partner. I don't know if MJF and mystery partner are going to be the ROH tag champions going into Final Battle. And if it is, then first of all, who is the partner, and is it Samoa Joe? And then do they win just to continue the MJF Joe story, where Joe is just getting in MJF's head, going after the ribs. Wow. See, now it's both companies are the same, going after the AEW World Championship. Is Samoa Joe just going to go after MJF, be like, we're tag partners, but I'm gonna beat your ass for the other title?
Which is very possible. That's what people thought was going to happen with Adam Cole and MJF, is eventually Adam Cole would turn and go after the AEW title, even though they were tag team partners. Samoa Joe just made it very clear that, hey, I got your back while this, and you're going to owe me off of this. Andres is from Frantic World, who said, if Keith Lee would have won, I will hurt Joe run to the AEW World title. Agree with that. And Lee would be on AEW TV with ROH TV title, and people don't already like that. Why would he have to be on AEW TV? Why? Why couldn't he just be an ROH staple as the TV champion?
And he would be great there. After months of people saying, where's Keith Lee? Where's Keith Lee? Now you got a place where you can see him exclusively, is on Ring of Honor. And I get it, paywall, yada, yada, yada. But if you want to see someone, sometimes you got to put them exclusively somewhere. And just like we talked about Santana and Ortiz anchoring an entire feud on Rampage, You can do that with Keith Lee, and just like they've done with Athena on Ring of Honor television. But I agree largely with the rest of the chat for sure.
I don't know why Keith Lee would have to still be on. He's barely been on AEW TV as well. He's got this thing with Shane Taylor going on ROH, sometimes on AEW TV. If like, hey, you add the TV title to that, that's cool. Like, Chris says, do you really want to pay a guy to be on ROH? They're at the show. It's not like they're flying them in extra to do these ROH tapings type of deal. Like, they're already at the show to tape these ROH matches. So I don't know if you're like really paying him extra. You're actually utilizing him, because Keith Lee would actually have somewhere to be and actually like doing matches and stories and stuff, where otherwise he was just not really on television. And why so people play, why is Keith Lee on ROH? What's the game? Look, people are going to complain.
They're going to complain anyway.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, and it's frustrating. Let's dig into the rest of Dynamite. I honestly enjoyed the show. It wasn't perfect. There were a lot of things that really made me happy, and then there were certain things where I was just like, we could probably ditch this. The opening segment was a little hokey, but it does what it does. It was very. I saw a lot of people call it like an episode of Raw, an opening to Raw. Adam Cole being like, "Hey, you should probably get Mimosa Joe as your partner," and also I like Adam Cole killing MJF with kindness, because the devil story just seems more and more every day like it's Adam Cole, because the first time that Cole showed up, or the first time the devil re-emerged and beat up Jay White, the devil was there. Where has the devil been every time since? Random room, zoom in, zoom call.
No, he was there the first night. The devil was there the first night.
But that's when Adam Cole was there, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So the very first night, Adam Cole was there, the devil was there. Ever since then, Adam Cole has been zooming in or FaceTiming in, whatever it is, and the devil has just appeared on a screen and zoomed out. If Adam Cole is the devil, a little thing like that is something that really gets me interested in the larger story as it is. But I like that. There's little stuff going on there. The stuff with Roddy and the Kingdom, I wish they would figure out what they want to do with it, because they haven't.
I hope Roddy being like, I'm going to remind the world that I'm a pro wrestler is almost a call to action of, we're going to get Roddy Strong bangers again.
You know what? Here. Let's put them in Ring of Honor for a minute. Final battle. You put whoever the world tag team champions are against the Kingdom, and you put Roddy Strong and Eddie Kingston for the world title.
For it.
Let's do that. I would love that. I would love to see that match. And I think a lot of people would be invested in seeing just the style of match that Eddie and Strong would bring. Mr. Ring of Honor would come back for one night only.
It doesn't need to be one night only. Like, I know Roddy has shown his range as like a comedy type of guy, and that's cool. It's been a fun little break, but they've been wearing thin. The direction has been, I don't even know what the direction has been. Like, they're just doing skits to do skits, it felt like, for a little while there, and it didn't know like where they were going with it. And again, it feels like they're just waiting on Cole to get healthy, or Cole to do something. But they didn't have a real great direction with Roddy and MJF, because it felt like that should have been more tied together because of the Adam Cole factor. But then the Acclaim got involved, and so MJF just started being like, okay, well, now I guess I owe the Acclaim because they're trying to court me and everything. And Joe's also involved. So the Roddy stuff has almost taken a back seat unless Cole has been involved, because I thought when MJF was like looking for partners and stuff, it would have made sense for Adam Cole to be like, no, you can trust Roddy. Like, you can trust the Kingdom. Like, you guys got to get on the same page type of thing, and they be the team. Instead, they're doing the stuff with the Acclaimed, which is fine. Like, okay. Let's say, now I'm just like rebooking a bunch of stuff. Let's say like let's say they did the Devil Attack and they took out like the Kingdom and Roddy, and but is Adam Cole taking out his own men there? Like, you can do a lot of different things with all of this. Regardless, I think they've lost the plot a little with Roddy and the Kingdom and what that could have been and maybe should have been. And now we're trying to pick it up somewhere, and hopefully they have an idea of where to pick it up.
Oh, someone mentioned that Jay Lethal and Eddie Kingston is most likely the final battle match. That's right. Because Lethal won the right after Jeff Jarrett and all of his friends beat Eddie Kingston. Thank you for reminding me. You're absolutely right.
All right, give me Roddy and Shibata then.
Let's go. I'm fine with that too. Again, if Roddy wants to go back to form, put him in the Ring of Honor ring for just for a little bit. Let's get it, and he can continue doing the character he's doing. I'm ready for that style of comedy to kind of start moving away. I think Jeremy hit it on the head when he said that they've lost the plot a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know where the Roddy comedy stuff is. Like, it feels like they're just waiting for Cole to come back, maybe Kyle to come back, and if they know when they're coming back, cool. Like, hopefully they figure that out and get the landing on everything. If they don't know when they're coming back, then I guess we're just gonna get more of these giraffe vignettes.
My kid sleeps with a little giraffe, so I think it's very cute when they do those segments.
That's adorable, Joel.
It is very adorable.
Is your kid Nick Strong?
Yes, he is. He from day one, the kid had a strong neck. You know how you're supposed to support babies from the head because their necks aren't. Yeah, he had neck control day one. Kid was neck strong. # neck strong. Anyway, let's continue on. Get in your super chats, by the way, and support the show. Talk about what you want to talk about here. The Sheeta and Tony Storm segment. I'm looking forward to the match. I'm getting a little bored of Tony Storm. They're about to inject a little bit more into the story. Yeah, that's right. With Mariah May. We'll talk about that debut in a sec. But it was the black and white chicanery. It's just like, come on, we didn't really need to do it. You know what I would have loved? I would have done anything that was a single shot, a tight shot on a Karushita or Hikaru, if you will. They would have done in color. And then anything Tony Storm in a 2-shot or a single shot, that's black and white. They did. It was a post-produced angle. Like, they could have done it. That's the little thing I would have done. But otherwise, like, again, I know the match is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. It feels like now with the Mariah May debut, it's going to almost become secondary, the match, to whatever Mariah May is going to do. So let's talk about it.
I do agree with that criticism there of the match with Mariah May now, who I'm very much looking forward to. And I think you tweeted, I know a lot of people tweeted this. I think you were one of them. Big Mickey Trish vibes from Mariah and Tony. Mariah, being like, I came to stardom because of Tony. Big fan of your work, RJ. Big fan of Tony. Like, a lot of, stalkerish vibes there. Which, hey, look, Mickey Trish, one of the greatest women's angles of all time. Certainly one of the most memorable. So, like, if you're going to copy an angle, you could do worse than doing that one. But it does feel like now, okay, when watching the match, we're just going to be waiting on Mariah May's involvement, whether she accidentally hits Tony and costs her the match, or whether she helps Tony to help her win the match. Which it really could go either way, honestly. But that's sort of what you're waiting for now that we've introduced Mariah May into this story.
So a lot of people are making a reference to Single White Female, the storyline that we're talking about. And they're also talking about the 1950s movie All About Eve, where a young starlet comes in and essentially tricks the champion in this case, or the woman who is the most successful actress around her, into basically giving her the spotlight. Which, by the way, it's basically the same story. You can only retell a wrestling story in so many ways when you're dealing with a championship and a champion, and a new fresh face comes in and they have someone that they love. It's similar, and that's fine. But let's not sit here and pretend like they're not similar stories. That being said, it's not a bad thing. It just comes down to how they tell the story and how they make Mariah May as good as as those who follow her know she is. And I think this was a good first step, because not everyone knows who Mariah May is, and this is a good introduction to have someone that is new, quote unquote, coming in and attaching herself immediately to a champion and being able to show, I'm as good as you are. Look at me. Notice me. There's some good stuff in there. Looking forward to it.
I think that I agree with the chat. Somebody said it that, like, MK ASAP says Tony doesn't need the title to continue the character. I agree with that. Like, I don't think that needs the championship. I think Tony can lose. You can do more stories outside of the title picture. Sheeta can continue her reign, and then you got the TBS title stuff going on as well.
Well, that's the whole thing with Toni, is that the whole character is based on the fact that she can't win the title, or that she has lost the title. She's without it, her big golden statuette, where eventually the story is, if she does win it, she'll do a Susan Lucci and just be like, you love me, you really love me. And she'll make a huge mountain out of a molehill. You do eventually have to have a title match between Toni Storm and Mariah May. I'm not saying immediately, but I'm saying something like that will eventually have to happen if this is a longer story between these two. That in mind, Mariah could cost Toni the match accidentally, or maybe accidentally on purpose, depending on the story. There's opportunity there. I do like it's fresh. They've refreshed Toni Storm by adding Mariah May, which is good.
I'm a little worried that Toni wins. They do the Mariah May Toni stuff, and we don't see Shida again. She just becomes, off television, because they've positioned Shida as just like great match person. And, this whole story is about Toni spotlight and stuff. She's just having cool matches, good matches. And she's like upset that Toni is stealing the spotlight, but Toni is doing like the big character work here. So I'm worried that, Shida gets the title, or Toni gets the title, and Shida just is not there. She just kind of fades away, which would be unfortunate.
What about Sky Blue? Is she gonna fade away?
Yeah, they're doing stuff with the TBS title, right? They reintroduced Red Velvet back into the mix, which good to see her back with everything. And then they're still just doing, let's stand and look at each other and walk away. So hopefully they got a plan with all of this.
That's something that I'm waiting for them to just, because to me, again, it just feels like we're just waiting for Sky Blue to join Julia Hart, missed Willow or missed Chris in the face, set up Sky Blue versus Chris Statlander, maybe at Full Gear. I don't know, but something's got to give. And I'm like you, I'm a little sick of just the standing and waiting and seeing what happens.
Yeah, she misted Julia the other week.
Yeah, it's Blue Mist, which is supposed to blind you.
Sure. I don't know what the mist does anymore. Some people get like eye infections. Like, I don't. Can I get a mist rundown of what all of these colors mean?
Yes, actually, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Pro Wrestling Mist. Okay, here we go. Green is the most commonly used mist, which obstructs your vision. Red is often said to burn the eyes, like when Gangrel would use the blood mist.
Sounds the same to me.
Black will blind the opponent for several weeks, like when Tajiri used it on Nydia. These are dated references, thank God. Blue sends the opponent to sleep, so Julia should have fallen asleep that week.
Yeah, Yellow, so not a powerful miss there from
apparently not.
Sky Blue.
It's because of the Scooby-Doo outfit. Yellow paralyzes the opponent, and purple causes momentary distraction and memory loss, just like Roxy Laveau. These are dated as hell.
Oh, why wouldn't everybody just use yellow? Paralyze the opponent?
That's right. Take them down and pin them. That's it.
Yeah.
Although the memory loss from purple is pretty good.
Yeah, the memory loss would be good as well. All right. Well, we need to start following these mist rules here. If you're going to introduce all this mist stuff to me, I need my mist lore of what, because all I've seen is you get an eye infection, and depending on like if you're Cody Rhodes or not, you can heal up in a week or a year. Like, oh, she hit Julia in the chest with that blue mist, not the eyes. Well, that's unfortunate.
Then her chest should have fallen asleep. Her internal organs should have fallen asleep. Which honestly, the heart is there, so technically probably should have killed her.
Oh, yeah. We gotta advance this somehow, because right now it is outside of Sky, doing the mist to Julia, and Julia not being happy about that. It's just been a lot of like, let's stand here. Now there's somebody here. Let's insert somebody here. Camera A, camera B, camera C, camera D, camera
one,
A,
camera two,
camera B,
camera one.
Like that's all it's been. It's just a lot of standing around and like, and then okay, I'll walk away. So we'll see. I
appreciate that they're telling two women's stories.
Yeah.
Again, it's something that you and I have talked about, is finding that investment, and it's good. I'm waiting for what is now story B to take shape. Also, you know, the TBS title being a collision-based story, while the AEW Women's World Championship currently is a Dynamite-based story, it's not a bad thing. Again, I want more than one women's match or women's story, but at least we're going to give A stories exclusively on a show, and that's okay too. So we're again a little low bar, but that's where we're at. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No.
Wonderful. Daniel Garcia and MJF open up the show. I just really want to touch on Danny Garcia. Are you frustrated at Danny Garcia?
No, go ahead.
What? Was it a staff chat thing?
No. I'm mad Daniel Garcia didn't win. I thought they should have just reboot the whole company on Wednesday. Get the belt back, not back in one though. Get the belt on Danny Garcia and been like, this is professional wrestling. Get this kangaroo kick bullshit. Get this catchphrase nonsense. Get it the fuck out of here. We are pro wrestling, baby. That's what I wanted.
Took Julia 17 years to join House of Black, so I expect Sky Blue to take a long time. That's fair. That's fair. Happy birthday to Julia Hart. Just turned 22 this week, so there you go.
I don't know about you.
I'm feeling
22.
Speaking of which, I don't think Joey's going to join us at this rate.
Yeah. He's going to pop on at like noon.
He's going to think it's 11 o'clock Central. He absolutely is.
Look, I'll take it. If he shows up at noon. Oh, hold on. Wait, I actually got a message. Oh, okay. He said, my flight got delayed. He just landed. Oh, well, there you go.
Join us, Joey. Let's go. There we go. We tried, folks. Maybe we'll get him after the match or something like that on Monday. We'll ask again because Joey's a good dude. Yes, Garcia. I think the general consensus was that good match that ended too soon, and I think that it's actually good that the match ended as soon as it did. Danny Garcia has all the potential in the world, but he's not being showcased in that way right now, but he's being talked about in that way. So now the emphasis is on Danny Garcia to, in the storyline world, continue building those wins, building this character beyond the dancing, and building himself as a serious world title contender next time. Because, yeah, everyone's saying like, oh, 5 more minutes. Well, no, the story here is that Garcia didn't have 5 more minutes in him. He tapped out, and that's it. They can cook. Hey, listen, wrestlers can go. Like that's the story. That's not the story. That's the reality. The story in this is that you're facing the world champion. You are not a world champion caliber opponent in the eyes of the story yet. So when they meet again, the match will be a little longer. Who knows who wins? That depends on what the story is. But right now, I think it worked for what they're trying to accomplish.
Here's what I didn't like. And Jeff Driver makes a good point of this felt like actually real character development here, hopefully. I agree, hopefully. What I didn't like is it felt like very much the Garcia Bryan stuff all over, where I want to shake your hand, and then here's the sports entertainers being like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before, and I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. All right, so I'm a little concerned. Taylor Swift lyrics. A little concerned that it's that all over again. I hope they have a plan out of that. I really hope they do, and it is not, hey, let's just Daniel Garcia go back to 3.0, 2.0 trios matches, or just not being on television type of thing. I hope they actually like go somewhere with it. We're getting a change after the promo they posted. Yeah, that was on socials. Air that on Rampage tonight. That'd be cool. And they've done a pretty good job of like following up with that stuff. Air that on Rampage tonight or Collision, either one. I'm fine either way. As long as there, as long as we. Sorry, I see my internet has dropped a little. Apologize. But either way, air it. Okay, air it on Rampage or Collision.
And I assume they're going to air it on Rampage, just because that's what they tend to do, is bring out these particular moments. And yeah, if they do air it on TV, then that means they're taking it a little more seriously. So I'm hoping that that's where we get it aired, and that we start the build of Danny Garcia. He's, again, young cat, great wrestler, ton of potential. I think you've mentioned this multiple times that I don't need to say it, but this is a concern in AEW as well, when we talk about how much time somebody has and then suddenly time is gone and Jade Cargill jumps over to WWE. We don't want that to happen necessarily. We want wrestlers to make as much money as they possibly can and enjoy the creative. But this is hopefully a turn for Daniel Garcia on air and get more of that character wrestler. Be good stuff.
He's proven he can do the sports entertainer stuff, which is great. That'll help him down the line. Certainly, it'll help keep him. It shows the diversity, right? But Daniel Garcia, one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. Let him wrestle. That's all I'm asking. Let him wrestle. He should have won, Joel. I'm so mad. He should have won. He should have cut the promo of just like, you know what? And you know what? He should have come out after he won, after he beat MJF. He should have come out in the main event and kicked the shit out of Jay White and got the damn belt back too. The disconnect with me. I realize I might be old man yelling. MJF is like, hey, we're so proud of our AW World Champion. He's got no title.
So let's talk about this. Okay, I want to go. Let's fast forward main event. Jay White and Mark Briscoe. I even wrote down Mark Briscoe. Good for me. Mark Briscoe has a great match with Jay White, and at the end of it, loses. It's just what happens. Jay White is still going to be facing MJF for the AEW World Championship at Full Gear. Who knows who the actual champion is? But MJF comes in after the match and teases going after Jay White. I hated the way that they did this in the ring. I hated that you had Jay White just standing there and MJF just standing there. Nobody wanted to make a move. Jay White could have just left the ring immediately, and instead he was trying to build a moment that just wasn't really building, in my opinion. Whereas MJF should have come in House of Fire and like chased down Jay White, who went up the ramp or whatever. There should have been more agency, is really what I'm getting. More urgency on the part of MJF, and then Jay White should have been that chicken shit running from giving up the title.
MJF is a failure, and getting his belt back is the only thing I've gotten out of this man. He had it, and then he jumped through the ring for some reason. No idea why, but he jumped through the ring.
Because he's a stupid baby face.
And then he sneaks up behind, and he takes out the other three. And what did they think was going to happen here? Like, I got you now. Jay White did what he smartly did, of just like, yeah, I could just kind of like exit stage left here and you got nothing, buddy. MJF cut a fiery promo, at least, on there.
By the way, sorry, I'm going to say this was a good promo from Max. It was a little, whatever, like babyface, but he didn't resort to yelling his tits off, as they'd say. And I appreciated that, because when they did the backstager where Max on Collision, after the Dynamite match, they showed it on Collision, where Max is just yelling for a solid 2.5 minutes. I didn't need that. This to me was a lot better. I like this promo from Max.
I did like his promo. It was basically his tweet word for word, but it was still a good promo.
Who's watching the program, Jeremy?
Man, this belt stealing stuff is just, it's frustrating me, because they're booking the MJF in these title matches. And the visual to me, the optics just aren't great when and I'll go back to the Omega thing of just like, hey, this is a big moment. He's going to be the longest reigning AEW World Champion. He's got no AEW title. This is supposed to be a big moment. MJF, Daniel Garcia, two guys who are, what was the big tout? Like under 27? Like two guys basically under 30. Yeah. I think MJF's like 27.
But they XXL, which is 25 in Roman numerals.
How old's MJF? MJF's 27. Thank you, brain. Yeah, but like, it's the thing. But like it's two under 27.
Never mind. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's fine.
XXV is 25. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That's okay. The XXL is the magazine, Joel. It's double XL.
That was the first thing I thought of, and then I was just like, wait a minute. Someone mentioned the ages, and I was like, isn't XX? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, XXL is the name of the magazine. It's their freshman issue. That's what they were recreating here.
They did a poor job of that.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be this big moment. There's no title. People are saying it's a belt. Who cares? It's supposed to matter. It's the biggest title in the company.
Bret Hart brought out that stupid title. Like, it is supposed to be the crowning achievement of every single wrestler's reason for being is to win a world championship. That's why it matters. It doesn't matter what you are character-wise. Your mission statement is win matches to get to a world title and win it. That's why it's important.
I think Wallace Elbow makes a good point on that. Of like, I don't think it's done anything for Jay. It's just like holding this title. Like,
okay, that's good.
it's just holding. He's just holding the title. Like, I don't know if it does legitimize Jay. I don't think him pinning MJF legitimizes him, not the fact that he's stolen this title.
We've talked about this on other episodes. What this does for Jay White is it plants the seed visually in your head that Jay White can feasibly carry that belt and it looks good. It doesn't look weird to say, oh, he's got the belt. That being said, Caden brings up the point that the belt was stolen nearly a month ago. Like, we've seen it. This is like, we're good. We get it. Jay White is a credible looking world champion. That belt looks good on him, around his waist, whatever it is. That's really what it is. And all of this leading to MJF retaining that title, winning it back, a big moment. He hugs it. And then I'm sure someone's going to come out at the end of Full Gear, beat the shit out of him. And I hope to God they don't steal that title from him again.
The devil, is it? Like, I'm not as down on like belt stealing angles as I think like Joel is. I don't think Joel likes him at all.
No, I talked about this multiple times. I think it's lazy as hell.
Yeah, I'm not as down on him as like that is. I'm down when like you're trying to create these moments in these MJF matches of, hey, Daniel Garcia, MJF, two guys under 30, the two future of the company, they're fighting for our world title. Hey, MJF trying to beat Kenny Omega to be the longest reigning champion of all time. They're fighting for our world title. And you don't have the world title there. That's what I'm down on. If you want to do this belt stealing angle and then MJF just doesn't defend the belt because he doesn't have it and he doesn't defend it in these big matches, then I'm okay with it. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like when Nyla stole the belt from Jade, Jade had these like one-off matches and stuff. She won. It's like, oh, but she doesn't, whatever. Like, okay, Nyla still has it. Here's Nyla with the title. You're trying to showcase these big time moments for MJF. And you're going to, and in history, they have these moments with no title for him to hold up. It loses, and I know, WWE, the whole thing is like, we're creating moments, pal. Like, yeah, those moments live. There's a reason why you see these types of photos and stuff, and they live forever in magazines and online and everything. They don't have those moments with MJF, Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega raising MJF's hand. There's the world title. There's what they were fighting.
There you go. Now you're back.
Yeah, my internet cut out. But like that's it. That's it. Like I just think they can, and this might be a very minor complaint. I understand that. Fine. I get it. But this is stuff that can, live and resonate with people. People might, I heard from someone known, okay, about a complaint I made of I addressed it anyway, because this seems minor. I tweeted, hey, how come AEW doesn't upload like the backstage stuff on their YouTube? There's no video of Mariah May's debut. There's no video of the Sheeta and Tony Storm little backstage thing. There's no video of the Devil attacking the Acclaimed. There's no video of that stuff on their YouTube page, on their official YouTube page. I feel like those would do numbers. And even if they don't do numbers, for me, I need them for thumbnail purposes. That's all I give a shit about, if I'm being honest about this stuff. But you would probably want that stuff on YouTube. And I asked somebody, I was like, why isn't this a thing? And they said they'll address it, and we'll see what happens. But like, that might seem minor, of like, oh, Jeff, the video of Mariah May's on Twitter. Okay, you can make money off of that video on YouTube as well. Like, nothing's stopping them just from putting it also on YouTube.
It should be everywhere.
Yeah, these might be minor things, but like, they help in a big picture. I think minor things add up. If you add 1 + 1 + 1 long enough, you finally get to 100. Yeah, you don't have to just go 99 + 1. You finally get there with 1 + 1.
That's how Mr. Beast got his fame, his infamy. by counting for long times until they got to large numbers. By the way, Mr. Beast, why aren't you on this show yet talking about pro wrestling with us? By the way, I'll pull up Weiss Olbel saying, okay, it makes AEW look incompetent. Why haven't they gotten the belt off of Jay for stealing it? That's something that we've talked about and I have mentioned multiple times. There should be not necessarily an authority figure, but the coaches are known to people who watch AEW. There should be a coach that just approaches Jay or the Bang Bang Gang on their way into the venue and they say, Jay, you're not allowed in here until you give us back the belt. It's not your property. It is the property of AEW. Max holds it right now, not you. Give it to us, or you leave, you're fired, or you're suspended indefinitely, whatever it is. And then I get that there's a theory that, it makes Jay look like a bitch. But when faced with whether or not you keep your job, I'm pretty sure you give back the title and you're just like, I'm going to win this back. Or you give a fiery promo, or just a sneaky underhanded, like, fine, you can have it back for now. Tell Max I'm going to get it back in a week or whatever timing it is. That's easily what you could have done. But TK fears for his life. That's why you send the coach. Pat Buck is just like, give me back the belt.
Pat Buck's he's got ties to MJF too. Pat Buck's fucking up Jay White. Pat Buck is swinging on everybody.
Perfect
roster. But people, WWE addressed that when Sammy stole the briefcase, right? And then it was immediately, we didn't see the segment, but Seth Rollins and Sammy talked about what happened of like, yep, had to go in the office, had to give the briefcase back, not my property, can't do anything with it. And then Seth rewarded him with, all right, you know what, you're going to get a title shot out of this. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I get it either way. It's all in taste when it comes to that stuff. My taste is I would prefer when you have these big matches where you're touting this title, have the title present. That's all. That's my taste. If you're fine with it, it's like, oh, it doesn't really add anything. It's a minor thing. Okay, cool. Like my taste is if you have these title matches, this is an important match. The title's on the line, all this stuff, have the title there.
That's why we said how awkward was it when we asked ourselves, hey, what's the referee going to hold up for the Kenny Omega and MJF match? He should have just held up his own belt. Like he should have just taken the belt off his pants and been like, this match is for the AEW World Heavyweight. Just visualize it, kids. AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Anyway, Patchy Rick sent us a super chat saying, piggybacking Joel's point about the devil not being in the building, the video cut and started after Adam left Roddy's house. There you go. So the devil's back, and this time much bigger men beat the shit out of the Acclaimed. Who are these big meaty men, and why is one of them Wardlow, who had his hooks sunk into him by the devil, as he once said in a promo?
I was so hoping that they did the real glass thing. They just look right before he threw him in the camera, right before he threw him through the glass, he just looks at
the
Nah, it just gives a wink, just like a wink. Like that's all you need. Nobody has to speak, just a little wink. Throw him through the glass.
You can't do it because then people on the internet are going to analyze the eye and the eyelids.
They're already doing this shit. Like they're already doing all this. Already doing it. So it's fine. Like that's what they should have done. MJ, I did like Samoa Joe just walking up and be like, sucks, dude, huh? And then just
that's the Kevin Owens in the parking lot at Full Sail with the deal with Tommy just being like, that's gotta suck. Just walking over.
That rolled.
That's a good moment. Wilchism said a super chat, by the way, saying my thing is Jay White's had the belt for over a month, and that's the point. That's the problem.
Somebody said Sean says maybe AEW manager gets the belt back, gives it back to MJF with Jay White, and I actually love that idea.
Great.
Of after you get the moment of they do hold the belt back of everything, and then they just keep attacking him and stealing it and shit. Then Samoa Joe's got real reason of being like, dude, you keep getting jumped for your lunch money here. Like, how about you hire me to make sure this belt stays on you?
That's fantastic. Oh my god. So yeah, who are the four men? Now people are thinking it's going to be the reuniting of the Pinnacle. Sean Spears is a little busy hanging out in Australia winning titles and spending time with his newborn baby.
I don't know what Sean Spears is doing. Bless him.
I just explained.
Okay. So yeah, people are saying Wardlow, Roddy, Taven.
Those men were pretty big and meaty, though. I don't know if Roddy, Taven, and Bennett fit the profile.
What they should have done, by the way, this was a missed opportunity. We made the retribution jokes when they first had the thing, right? And I posted that clip because it was actually after Mason Mansoor did their thing where they throw the cinder block through the glass and they throw the other cinder block through the glass. That's one of my favorite moments in like the PC era because there ain't much from there. They should have thrown Bowens through the glass and then picked up they threw Caster, sorry. They should have thrown Caster through the glass and then picked up Bowens and chucked him through as well.
I would have loved it. Yeah, I think Sean had also said, like, that it was not retribution because they didn't throw a cinder block after they threw Caster through the
No, not a cinder block. I didn't realize Sean made this joke. Sorry.
I like this one better, though.
They just throw another, whether it's Daddy Ass or Bowens, they just throw the other guy through the glass, but it's already broken. They just throw him, like, over the parchment, basically.
I see Pile Driver Finisher saying it's the United Empire. Jeff Cobb is definitely one of the assailants. Okay. Alex I almost said Coughlin again. Alex Coughlin, he posted on his Instagram the devil thing, so he's trying to dust up some rumors. Maybe David Finley's going to show up with some busted New Japan hardware and use that to wear his devil mask. I don't know. Can't find that devil mask on the internet though.
I think it ends at Full Gear. I think that's when the reveal happens. I think they went away from it for a little bit after the initial attack, and now they've at least brought it back around, and they've kept it prominent, even if it's just been like the little cut in after an MJF promo. They kept it prominent. Now we finally got like another attack here, which was good. I think it ends at Full Gear, and a lot of theories. That's the point of this stuff, is like, who is it? Who's it going to be? What's it going to lead to? Type of thing. What if it's just MJF?
See, I don't hate that. It's MJF playing everybody, and I love that because it goes back to MJF berating the crowd, being like, I got you the whole time. I got you with the stupid kangaroo kick. I got you to cheer for me. You people are so easily manipulated. I made you think that it was someone else, yada, yada. By the way, I'm going to say this right now. I don't think this ends at Full Gear. I think this has a little bit more legs to it. Okay. Especially because you have so many people in that orbit between Roddy, Cole, Wardlow, Mimosa Joe, obviously MJF. You've got the Bang Bang Gang in some way, shape, and form involved. You've got the Acclaimed now being part of this whole story. There is more to it that you can play with that would be fun and would maybe push this out. Obviously, this, and I was thinking about this the other day when I was on the train. You and I have had a lot of feelings about how AW programming and storytelling has gone lately, and I think we were largely we were critical of how it was. Now I think everything we're saying makes us hypocritical. No, with the benefit of hindsight, as is tradition, sometimes wrestling storylines do start to level out or make more sense as it plays out. And I'm not saying this is advocating let it play out, because sometimes letting it play out does lead to shitty outcomes. This is just one time where, like, we can let this play out a little bit longer because they've discovered ways to make it interesting, but it doesn't always have to be interesting. And that's okay. Some weeks can be a little bit lesser than others, as long as they don't completely shit the bed, jump the shark, whatever you want.
So you got to do something at Full Gear.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. You can't just like not have the devil be part of Full Gear. So what's the angle at Full Gear that extends it without a reveal?
You could maybe there's a kerfuffle going on in the backstage area, and maybe the baby faces stand up for once and they stop the assailants. You unmask one of the assailants, but not all of them. You could do a single reveal. There are certain ways you could do it. You could do a fake devil. Someone had mentioned that before, and I'm not against it as long as it's done right. But at the end of the day, it's like what makes the most sense, and who is it? And this is why I like what's going on with the devil storyline right now. It's because it's kind of reinvented itself, or just retooled itself to make a little bit more sense, at least in my brain.
I have to address this.
Well, all right then. Clickety clack away.
No, we're fine. So
by the way, I don't want to do that ever. I don't want to do that. That being in that brain for longer than 10 seconds would just scar me for life.
This is the best suggestion, honestly. Sky Blue in the Scooby-Doo gear going backstage, and then she unmasked the devil, and it's Adam Cole, and he's like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for Sky Blue and Chris Statlander and the meddling TBS champion.
So I thought about this as like a bit of a bit that like it would be Sky Blue who figures out who the devil is.
That's
and then she does the unmasking.
Yes.
And they say, I would have gotten away with it without for you meddling kids. And it's the TBS4. It's Stat, it's Sky, it's Willow, it's Julia Hart. Not even Julia Hart. It's Red Velvet. It's just the four of them do it.
It's those four.
And
AEW Scooby-Doo, all elite Scooby-Doo, baby.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And that's how they find that's how they find out that Britt Baker is actually the devil. You all thought that the story was about the world championship. Nope. It's about Britt Baker, because if there's one thing AEW does, it's all about Brits. By the way, Iridian Fierro from Fightful has a great interview coming on Monday with Britt Baker.
I should see if she should give me that interview early so I don't have to wait until Monday and just have the quotes written.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll ask her to DM me the scoop so I can pre-write the story. Okay. I think it should be Sky Blue unmasking them all in the Scooby-Doo outfit. I think, okay, if you want to extend this to Full Gear or past Full Gear, sorry, then I think the best way to do that is either like a red herring, or as the devil gets unmasked, but that's not it, because then they show up again on Dynamite and they do an attack and it's like, wait a second, what happened there? Or I think somebody said it, like MJF and the devil are like face to face to close the show, and tune in on Dynamite to find out what happened at the end of the pay-per-view. Which is a great WCW bit when they would close shows with that.
We're out of time.
Always ruled when WCW pay-per-views would end. It's like, oh, tune in to Nitro to find out what happened for this thing that you paid $50 for.
And then you got to re-air the entire main event because you didn't buy enough pay-per-view time at your Halloween Havoc. I get it. The match wasn't very good, Goldberg and DDP, but we had to air all 18 minutes of it.
How dare you? I think the reveal comes at Full Gear, though. I do. And I could be wrong. I do. If they do try to extend it past Full Gear, like, then you're looking at a month and a half. Like, that's I don't know. I feel like it could wear a little thin at that point, because you're going to have to spice it up a little besides just like doing attacks and everything. We need Breeze is a free agent. Dango, I don't know if he's actually like under contract. We need the Fashion Police doing some investigations here. Like, that's,
they got to bring in Oleg Prudius as well. If you're gonna do Dango, you got to bring Oleg.
Yeah, I saw he looked good. He was beating dudes up.
That's his first wrestling match since like 2012.
Yeah, it was almost.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a wrestling match. It was kind of beating the shit out of Storm Grayson and Nick Diamond, but shout out Storm Grayson. He got beat the shit out of.
So I think that, like, if you're gonna extend it for another month and a half, you got to start doing some reveals or figuring out a way to freshen it up besides just like attacks and everything. That's why I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. And that's why I just think, like, okay, let's do it at Full Gear and see where it goes. And I don't know who it's going to be. There's plenty of theories out there. Whichever way they go with it, they will have their options. So if it's like Adam Cole, there's obviously plenty of options to go with the Adam Cole storyline. If it's Britt, there's obviously the Adam Cole ties to that. They give you plenty of options. If it's Wardlow behind it all, that gives you, like, there's options no matter where you go. It's just, how's it all going to tie together, and where do you go after the reveal?
There you go. Who knows who it's going to be? But you want to talk about the Collision Rampage tapings tonight?
Oh, sure. Is there something that I'm missing?
Well, no, we can just talk. There are a couple matches I'm looking forward to. FTR versus Commander and Vikingo sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's a good match.
Yeah, and Sting. The Sting retirement tour is not Sting saving his body for Revolution 2024. It is Sting being put in as many matches as he can with Young's talent, which Can't complain. I just think it's very funny that we thought it was one thing and it's completely the opposite because bless Sting.
Yeah, I mean, look, we knew he was going to wrestle before Revolution. We figured he would wrestle at least at the big pay-per-views. And so far, like, he's wrestling at Full Gear. I imagine he'll be at World's End. I imagine he's still going to do Winter is Coming and then Dynamite Homecoming. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary for him to wrestle. You know, he's going to make the towns, brother. Bless him.
Can't believe Rampage is going to be live this week and Collision will not. That's upsetting.
Oh, we're gonna get some Collision discourse when the numbers come out and stuff.
Of course we will. Actually, maybe not. I don't know because I don't know. We'll see. Whatever. That's. Is there anything else from AEW this weekend that you're looking forward to?
It should be good shows. It should be fun. You know, wrestling. Hooray wrestling.
Before we get to the SmackDown preview, I got to say this: Winter is Coming, not being the Montreal shows.
They love tradition, baby. Gotta have the tradition. Texas is the tradition for Winter is Coming.
Fuck your tradition, Tony. This is why you're not selling tickets to Montreal.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Tradition is Texas.
There ain't much going on here in terms of SmackDown preview.
Nah, it's just Grayson Waller and LA Knight.
Yeah, that's all that's there. Yeah.
Crown Jewel Fallout, whatever that means. So,
how many times are they going to show Logan Paul in the shower?
I don't know if Logan's going to be on this show. We're going to get a lot of video recaps, I imagine. We got to recap the LA Knight and Roman Reigns match. Mm-hmm. Paul Heyman's going to be there. I hope they present Solo as a big deal, like coming off of the John Cena win, especially. Like, do the big recap there. Have Heyman like really putting over Solo and everything. Have Solo kill somebody else. That's fine with me. Like, but you gotta follow up really strong on Solo's Sokoa.
Yeah. There's something there that has to be done, and I'm looking forward to it because big win for Solo, beating up John Cena so bad that he had to go get his arms worked on by a doctor.
Yeah, man, he's got his movie shelved, got his arm shelved.
He's walking in with a sack full of Saudi money, being like, "We're gonna save this movie. We're bringing it back."
He might. John Cena is a powerful man. He might be able to do it.
That's right. You'll never catch him in the next man's sweater, but you will catch him with a sack full of money.
Will you?
I don't know. And the New Japan show tonight should be fun, so go check that out. Lone Star Shootout. Sorry, we didn't get Joey Janela. Obviously, we found out why.
He said next week we'll work on a time and a date and everything, but he did apologize, and like, stuff happens. I probably should have, knowing it was Joey Janela, I probably should have sent him a reminder yesterday, and I didn't. So I'll take some blame for that as well, because we set this up on Wednesday, and I probably should have sent a reminder. This is just for anybody. I probably should have sent a reminder day before. I didn't. So what can you do? But he said next week, we'll make it happen. Joey's usually good to us, and so we'll figure it out, get him on the show. I apologize. There was like no guest this week. I don't like when that happens. I like having guests on the show. I don't want to talk to Joel 2 hours. At least SP3 was here on Monday.
But, and Sean showed up on Monday. And
yeah. At least there was that. But we like bringing you guys guests and hearing from different voices. So I do apologize that there was no guests at all this week.
If only Impact wasn't running an IPWF show this weekend.
We tried. We tried. We did have someone tentatively scheduled for Wednesday that didn't end up happening either. So it wasn't really a lack of trying. It's just, stuff has stuff. Yeah, Andrew Zarian popped on today. We love Andrew Zarian. I don't consider him like a booked guest. He shows up when he wants to. He shows up whenever the hell he wants. So.
That's fair. Anyway, let's get on out of here. It's been a good day, good discussion. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it too while you drop that thumbs up and subscribe to us here on the channel. Jeremy, go ahead, plug it.
I don't know, stuff and things, and everybody off your loads this weekend. Watch all the wrestling tonight. There's plenty of wrestling to watch tonight. Collision's taped. I mean, you can watch it. That's fine by me, but also like seems like a good weekend with a non-live wrestling show at all, like to chill out and not do any of that stuff, because it's gonna be a busy couple of weeks with Full Gear next week, Survivor Series after that, and then I'm sure much other nonsense. Deadlines after that, and then the World's End is after that, and then before you know it, the Royal Rumble's here.
That's right, the debut of Jade Cargill deadline.
Everybody just take care of yourselves. That's all.
Yeah, go enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, have fun, and get outside if you can. Just go enjoy some weather.
Final battle, yeah.
Why not? There's tons of wrestling to round out the year, all the way to World's End, literally to the second last day of the year. There will be something for you. But until then, I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. Go check out all the other stuff that we've got running on Fightful Overbooked, and of course over on Fightful.com. Jeremy writing articles and me pretending I am good at this. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you on Monday when we get in the weeds at 10 a.m. Eastern. Cheers.